Hey there, guys. Today is day 11 of the Avian Advent Calendar Challenge. Now, the Avian Advent Calendar is an advent calendar of parrot toy parts. So every single day, I'm going to be opening a new box, showing you guys what is inside, and coming up with a brand new parrot toy to make. So if that is something you guys want to see, you want to make sure to stick around, because that's going to be coming up right after this. Hey there, guys. This is Jack over at Hi Red Bird, where I am tirelessly working to find new ways to make the keeping of exotic animals and pets more exciting, more affordable, and ultimately more enjoyable. Now, today's video is part of a series. I am going to be working on building a new toy using the Avian Advent Calendar. Now, the Avian Advent Calendar is a product put together by the Leather Elves. If you'd like to know more about the Leather Elves, the fun stuff they put together, there will be a link in the description section down below. A couple of quick notes before we jump in. First and foremost, this series is designed to help bird owners come up with new toys, maybe new ways to use parts that they like, maybe using parts that they've never used before, developing new techniques. So at the very least, even if you don't particularly like the toy on any given day, there may be a technique or a skill that you are able to use. Something about safety, construction, the goal of building that toy. Every single day should have something that should be helpful in making you a better parrot toy builder. I am going to be using a variety of different tools for these videos. Most of those tools are going to be pretty commonplace things, but I will put a link to those items in the description section down below as well, because if you guys don't have the appropriate tools to make parrot toys, it can just make it a little more difficult. So some basic essentials can be amazingly helpful. I would love to hear from you guys. If you are making these toys, if you are watching these videos, please leave a comment and let me know, what type of bird do you have? Knowing what types of birds you guys have, the size of them, their destructive capacity, helps me come up with toys and different ideas for you guys so you get the most out of this channel. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into how we are going to be building today's toy. All right, guys, so for day 11, we have a sea grass mat. So these are a lot of fun to work with. You can do a lot of different things. You can obviously use these as a base for toys, maybe hang them from the top of the cage, suspend different toy parts off of them so that your bird has something to interact with. But what I want to do today is build an activity mat, because that, to me, is a lot of fun, especially if you get brand new birds or you're not familiar with what types of toy parts your birds like. We're going to use this to find out. Now, you do, of course, also have the box and the shredded paper that came in today's kit. And if you want to, one thing you can do is take the box, go ahead, disassemble it, and use it as toy parts. So there you can see that I've got just some squares of cardboard. I cut those up with my scissors. I used my hole punch to just go ahead, punch a hole into those. But to build an activity mat, we are going to need a variety of different toy parts that we've gotten from previous days. Luckily, we do have so many toy parts left over, and that is why I've told you guys, make sure that you're not throwing things away, because a lot of these things are still going to be really, really useful. So I have things like a wooden disc that I want to use today. I want to use something like this condiment cup right here. And I, of course, am going to need some small pieces of leather. Now, these are just offshoots of toys that I've made before. Whatever little bits of leather that I had left over, when I would cut that off, I would save them. So those are going to be very, very useful. Even if you had a small piece of leather like this isn't going to be big enough to tie that together. You might need something like your needle nose pliers to tie a knot into that. But if you have a smaller bird, maybe a conure or a cockatiel, and you have the ability to just tie this knot, that has the potential to be an interesting foot toy. I have some birds that would be very, very interested in that. They just want to see it, see if they can undo it. Considering that I needed needle nose pliers to put that knot in there, I'm hoping they couldn't get it done that easily, but even something as small as that is still worth saving. Now, to make our activity mat, we are going to need to figure out the orientation. This is going to be hanging flush on one of the sides, so it's not going to be suspended from the center of your cage. Instead, we're going to be using one of the side walls. So figure out if you would like this to go horizontally or vertically. It's going to depend on your cage setup. Both orientations will work fine. To get that on there, I am just going to use some quick links. You can do this with just one. It's certainly strong enough, but I like two just because to me it's a little more balanced. It's going to stand up to my bird actively playing with this, and that is part of what I'm trying to encourage here. I want to provide a variety of different aspects so that if I have a new bird that likes a particular toy part, I'll be able to find out about it. I want them all over this, playing with it, tugging on it, trying to find different things. So all we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of all of these different spaces, and we are going to be adding different toy parts. Now, if you would like to make this really, really useful, fun, and double duty, what I am going to recommend is that you plan on there being two sides to it. So to give you guys an idea, I'm going to go ahead, take one of these wheels. I'm going to go ahead, just tie a knot in this leather. Now for that side, I don't need the pliers. There's definitely enough for me to work with. But I will put that through the mat on the other side. Maybe I want to do this condiment cup. I'm going to go ahead, thread that through. You guys can see I'm threading the cavity towards the seagrass mat. That way, once I tie this knot, I will then be able to put shredded paper, put small treats in there. So I am just going to continue going through this activity mat that we are building. But the idea is on one side, it can have something. If it starts to get a little bit tired, but it's still safe, what you can do is just flip it, and then you have another opportunity for your bird to interact with a lot of fun things. So on this side, I'm going to go ahead and use another one of these discs. We're going to go a little bit higher up. But then instead, I am going to put some of these pieces of cardboard. And in fact, I'd like to use some of my leather washers as well to space out those pieces of cardboard. If you have birds that maybe are exhibiting feather destructive behavior, this is one of my favorite things to do, giving them something that is designed for them to destroy. So I'll just slip a leather washer in. That'll just make it easier for my birds to grab a hold of those edges of cardboard. Another one. Once I have as many pieces of cardboard on there as I want, I can again go ahead, tie a knot. You want to make sure when you are tying your knots, you are paying attention to how much slack is in that toy. You don't want to have the potential for your bird to potentially get caught up in something. But that, you can see we've created something that has two different sides. Even if it was mounted to this side, they can play with those little pieces there. They could obviously play with both of the wheels. And we can take some of the glorious shredded crinkle paper that we have. Honestly, if you got this Avian Advent Calendar, there is so much shredded paper, you are going to be finding uses for it. The good news is this is a great foraging toy in and of itself, but I'm just going to go ahead and shove some of that into that cup. If you let just a little bit peek out, the really nice thing about that, your birds start to associate the crinkle paper with something they need to investigate. If you want to do a couple small food items, Here I've got some dried banana chips. I'm just going to do 2 pieces of dried banana chip, and I'm just going to wedge those up in there. The thing about using toys or food on foraging toys, you don't have to use that much food. The goal here is not to provide your animal's entire diet worth of food on a foraging toy. You could do that if that is your plan for feeding your bird. But if you just want a toy and you want to give them a little extra incentive, don't feel like you have to give them 8 pounds of food on a single foraging toy. 1 or 2 small pieces of food on a foraging toy is still going to be enough to get their interest and to encourage them to play with something. So I encourage you guys to try out this idea, an activity mat that could be mounted on the inside or the outside. You could mount this on the outside cage wire to make it even more challenging. But this will give you guys an idea of what kind of toy parts do your birds like? What are they going to go for first? Some birds are going to go for things like the cardboard, that condiment cup. Maybe they just want to play with the wheels. My bird has a particular proclivity for finding the spot on the leather where he can break through and cause everything to fall to the ground. Maybe they just want to shred the seagrass mat. But if you provide them something like this, you're going to know. And knowing their favorites, knowing the things that they like to interact with is going to help you in the future because you can tailor the toys, the enrichment that you're making to include some of your bird's favorite activities. So I certainly hope that you guys have found this video useful. If you did, make sure that you like this video. You want to subscribe to the Hi Redbird YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of these videos. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for the next video in the Avian Advent Calendar Challenge. You need to say thank you to my Patreon patrons for helping to make these videos possible. You can find out more by visiting Hi Redbird on Patreon or clicking the link in the description section down below if you would like more information. Thanks!